Recording in progress.
Ένα.
Εντάξει, οκ. Έλα.
Ξεκινάμε. Σε αντίθεση με την προχθεσινή εκδήλωση, απόψε θα μιλήσω αγγλικά. Πιο δυνατά, εντάξει. Dear friends, colleagues and students, on behalf of the NTUA School of Architecture and the Dean, Irini Klabatsea, who could not be with us today due to a personal obstacle, I welcome you to the presentation with the title, A Dialogue Between the Past and the Future, from the Pritzker Prize winning architect of 2012, and also Professor and Dean of the Architecture Department of the China Academy of Art, Dr. Wang Shu. We already had the pleasure of his presence 2 days ago at the big event that took place in this very room as a member of the jury for this year's Pritzker Prize. Dr. Wang Shu, we are very happy to have you here. And now, applause, please. Before we proceed, I would like to thank the two valuable members of our staff, Mr. Dimitris Papaioannou and Mr. Haralabos Loizidis, who are responsible for the technical coverage of this event. And now, allow me to give the floor to Professor Kostas Kostopoulos, whom we should deeply thank for the initiative to invite Dr. Wang Shu and to take care of all the details of this event. Professor Kostopoulos, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Ευχαριστώ την αναπληρώτρια κοσμήτωρα. Σας χαιρετίζω. Καλώς ήρθατε στο Εθνικό Μετσόβιου Πολυτεχνείου σήμερα. Νομίζω ότι είναι μια πολύ ευχάριστη εβδομάδα αυτή, μια πολύ ιδιαίτερη εβδομάδα. Είχαμε μέσα σε λίγες μέρες πολύ σημαντικούς επισκέπτες εδώ και αυτές τις διαλέξεις οι οποίες τόσο χρειάζονται σε μια αρχιτεκτονική σχολή και τις οποίες νομίζω ότι πρέπει να συνεχίσουμε και να τις καθιερώσουμε. Λοιπόν, στη συνέχεια θα μιλήσω μόνο αγγλικά, γιατί δεν έχουμε τη δυνατότητα των μεταφράσεων. I welcome you this evening in the National Technical University School of Architecture. We are very honored to have Professor Wang Shu here and his wife and partner, Lu Wenyu, because I know that both of you are running the office and you are both equally, for us, you are equally important. So I will begin with, I'll say a few things about Dr. Wang Shu for the audience, because most people are familiar and know the name Wang Shu, but maybe they are not very familiar with your work. So Dr. Wang Shu is the laureate of the 2012 Pritzker Architecture Prize, co-founder of the Amateur Architecture Studio, Dean and Professor of the School of Architecture of the China Academy of Art in the city of Hangzhou in China. He was the Kenzo Tange visiting professor at Harvard University, Graduate School of Design in 2011, and he is the visiting professor at MIT and UCL, and adjunct professor of Tongji University in Shanghai, honorary professor of the Southeast University in China, and he and Lu Wenyu were listed among the RIBA's 2015 fellowships. He was the recipient of the honorary degree of Rhode Island School of Design in 2012. He was awarded the Chinese University of Hong Kong Award, honorary doctorates in 2014. So his work, they established, that's to be correct, they established and he became the head of the Department of Architecture, China Academy of Art in 2003. They set up and became the first dean of the School of Architecture of the China Academy of Art in 2007. By the way, now I should say that the China Academy of Art is a very special school. I think they are progressive, experimentative, and they work a lot with material. And it's not only architecture. I mean, it's a very big school with all sorts of applied arts, traditional and modern. So he proposed an architectural education concept based on natural construction in face of the crisis of the vernacular culture and the impact of globalization. He initiated a series of new and critical architectural education practices. He, together with Lu Wenyu, they were awarded the 2019 Gold Medal Award by the Sigma Tau Delta Honor Society in Architecture and Allied Arts. Wang Shu founded the amateur architecture studio, both of them, in 1997. You correct me if I'm wrong. His research and practice focus on the re-establishment of contemporary architecture. That's the main question, I guess, and Professor Wang Shu will explain that to us. In face of the phenomenon of a massive demolition and construction, which was uniquely seen in China's urbanization wave and led to the corresponding material wasting, he has launched a series of architectural practices focused on recycling construction. And in face of the excessive artificiality of the huge amount of contemporary construction activities and the rapid destruction of the countryside and ecological environment, they have taken out a series of practices of old city renewal with sustainable methods, the exploration of architectural clusters with the quality of new urban fragments and important public cultural buildings with distinctive local cultural characteristics. And at the same time, they have promoted the preservation and renewal of China's rural architectural culture, all of which reflect in their projects, such as the City of Ningbo History Museum, which it happens that I know very well because I used to live there, very close. Xiangshan campus of the China Academy of Arts, renovation of the Wenchuan village project, and other. Professor Wang Shu has been awarded numerous important architectural prizes around the world, including the first Global Award for Sustainable Architecture, the Pritzker Architecture Prize 2012, the Gold Prize of Architecture from France Architecture Academy, the Schelling Architecture Prize, together with Lu Wenyu. He was elected as one of the 100 most influential people in the world by the Time magazine in 2013. He was rewarded as an Innovator of the Year 2012 by Wall Street Journal in 2013. Their work, the Xiangshan campus of China Academy of Arts, has been listed as the 24th, amongst the 25 most significant works of post-war architecture by the New York Times in 2021. I happen to know this campus, and it's really amazing. His projects have been published widely around the world in numerous magazines and books. His works have been exhibited in museums, arts, and architectural centers and institutions throughout the world, such as MoMA, the National Museum in Berlin, the Venice Biennale, and other. In 2009, his solo exhibition, Architecture as Resistance, was shown in Beaux-Arts, Brussels. In 2017, his solo exhibition, The Architect Studio, Wang Shu Amateur Architect Studio, was displayed in the Louisiana Museum of Modern Art. In 2018, his solo exhibition, Wang Shu and Lu Wenyu, was shown in Arc and Rêve Centre d'Architecture of France. My French is not as good as I would like to. He has also been invited by universities and institutes around the world to give lectures and speeches. For example, in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, United Nations headquarters, Victoria Albert Museum, Harvard University, Yale University, Rhode Island School of Design, Cooper Union, Columbia University, University of California, Los Angeles, and University College of London, etc. So, yeah, this is about Mr. Wang Shu, and now I think I will give the floor to Mr. Zhao Deli. Yeah? Yeah. Zhao Deli, before he will call Mr. Wang Shu. Yeah, he is an assistant professor.
Well,
Professor, right?
normally you don't talk about your boss, right? Especially in front of them. So I'll take the chance then. Just a few words. I feel Wang Shu, also Lu Wenyu, they are more like friends to me. You know, they are very nice, interesting person, very creative, working hard. You know, as an architect, you have a lot of works, and of course, they are also professors, as Kostas has introduced to us. But each time I went to their office, Wang Shu is writing Chinese calligraphy. And the written calligraphy papers has stacked this height on his desk. So I think that's something from young generation of architects always has admired and can always learn from them. And we are now in essence, which city has great history, as the same we have in China. I think the lecture title, Dialogue Between Past and Future, means a lot, which he can always discover all the elements involved to architecture and the urban design to be something that is new. So I'll give back the microphone to Mr. Kostas, and then we'll have Wang Shu. Thank you.
I mean, I said it all. Now, now I have the pleasure to introduce Mr. Wang Shu and give him the floor so that he can show us his wonderful work. Please. I think it's okay.
Okay.
So, let me see.
Okay. It's a very good feeling here, and I think it's also get very honor feeling. Can talk something here, and in fact, my English is speaking is not good. Zhao Deli is a very good young teacher in our school. At least his English is better than me. but I still want to speak English here because I think we can exchange the feeling and thinking more directly with everybody here. And today, my topic is a dialogue between the past and the future. It has a special meaning to our works. It is also to the China. I think it's also to the world, because I come to here in the essence just a few days, but I feel a lot of things, I learn a lot of things here, because here still keeps a majority very rich tradition here. It's very special, you know, in all over the world, and if you go to one country's capital, you will find many big buildings, high-rise buildings, But here, you will find it's a majority building. It's a small. It's a small building. For me, it's very important. You know, our studio's name is Amateur Architecture Studio. Why? Because I think most powerful power is come from the common people. Small building is done by common people. It's not by the proud professional architect. That's why I think I love essence. Yeah. Our studio is in Hangzhou. Maybe, I think here, majority of people, you haven't been to Hangzhou. You don't know where is Hangzhou. Today the world, I think, is a very warm discussion point is about China. But what's the real China? I think usually when we talk about China, sometimes it's about imagination about China. Something is about the real reality about China. So I want to talk the basic background, what our work in China. It's between the imagination and the real reality. For example, what's the state of the city in China now? What happened? Sorry? Oh, okay. This is Hangzhou, and it's, in China, it's a very typical Chinese city like this. For Chinese concept, the city is not so big. We only have 12 million population. Why we are not so big? Because we have a neighborhood, it's Shanghai. It's a huge city. Now, I think Shanghai now, the city has more than 25 million population, Shanghai now. So Hangzhou just means half, 50% of Shanghai, so it's not so big. The typical city state like this. You can see the high-rise building makes a very lower, small building together. A lot of high-rise building have the typical things like this, because the city develops so fast, and you will find a small building is a very high density with a high building together. It's China. The tradition, it means past time. And high-rise building means future. It's past and future totally mixed together. This is the new part of the city, like this, all over the world. If you have chance to have the trip in China, you will find at least several hundred cities like this. It's very typical. And in the cities served, you will find the city expands very fast, so they directly meet the village. The village like this, and directly connect to the new cities like this. But all the Chinese cities process now is they want totally clean, demolished all these small buildings. For example, if Athens is a Chinese city, you will find maybe several years, they just use several years, they will demolish everything and rebuild the high-rise building. So this is a big change, very fast. Even for Chinese, we don't have enough time to understand what happened. You know, your life totally be changed. What about the knowledge countryside state? Like this, a little bit small scale. It also means new building and old building mixed together. Similar to the city, just means old scale, a little bit small, a little bit similar to Athens, like this. In fact, we have a lot of beautiful countryside village. Even in Hangzhou, the city is, we have a lot of high-rise building, but just very near the city is 1 hour and 1.5 hour trip, we will find in the surrounding village like this, still keeps a very beautiful state like this. But I think maybe they still can stay there for 10 years or 20 years, then everything will go. So this is the basic background for our works. When we face to the so fast change the society, so I think for architects, at least we should thinking what the meaning of our work. You know, we start our studio in the 1997. That time, in fact, before the 2000, in China, we don't have any private architecture studio and office. Our system, we just have a large-scale design institute, national. It belongs to the system, national design system. For example, originally, my wife, my partner, Lu Wenyu, he work in a huge national design institute. They have more than 2,000 architects and engineers working together. They build high-rise building and very high speed and very efficiency, but they don't care tradition. That's why, finally, my wife come out from the system. And studio, small studio, till now, our studio, we only have 10 people working together. Studio, small studio means what in China? It means another world, another way, another thinking, in fact. And for us, another interesting thing, our past traditional system, Chinese system. Basically, we can talk about the old material is used the more natural materials. It's totally different system with the modern system. When we want our architecture and the city become modern, what's the meaning of modern? Modern, in fact, is a huge industry system. They use the artificial materials, use the people's concept, and redesign some abstract things, don't care the scale. In fact, you will find all the modern buildings, they lost the feeling about the scale, lost the feeling about the human. So this is our basic thinking about architecture. And we spent a lot of time to do the research, to think about how we still can get some intelligent way, natural way from our tradition. Tradition not just means tradition. Tradition have a lot of things inside. So we want to do some approach. Maybe we can find some way to give the new balance between the fast city development and the very bad situation in the countryside, in the traditional small buildings. Another point about the craftsmanship. Now in China, from a city to the countryside, all the construction systems have changed, become modern. They use the concrete, and they use the artificial materials. In this system, no any space for the traditional craftsmanship. So this is our another thinking and approach, how we can do something, give the chance to the traditional hand-making system in the huge modern system. Can we find some way do something like this? It's our basic attitude. What we can do, we want to do something more active, more interesting. So we do a lot of research every year. We also the professor teach in the architecture school, so we work with our students together, do a lot of research every year. If you have chance come to China, you will find we have a rich tradition, architecture knowledge, especially in the countryside. Because in the Chinese city, traditional building almost demolished. We worked very hard. You know, Chinese worked very hard. We worked very hard. Used 30 years, demolished more than 90% traditional buildings in China. But now we want to think, can we also work very hard to, like our tradition still can live? Live not just means do the conservation, renovation. We want the tradition, they give a different way in the new architecture creation. So today I just want to talk about these topics through two new works. In the past 3 years, all the world we all had experience from the pandemic. And we can't go out of China. We can't have any trip out of China. But for our studio is the good things we have more time, can do something in our local work. The first one is China's National Archives of Publication and Culture in Hangzhou. It's a huge work, about more than 100,000 square meters. It's a huge building, and it's a national culture works. So usually it means, you know, in China, when we meet project like this, the architecture, the first thinking about is something monumental, you know. It's a national about culture, something like this. But we want to try some totally different way. A topic about this building is we want to talk this way. What's meaning about natural and real construction? You know, now all over the world, architecture become like what? Architecture now is not architecture. A majority architecture means decoration. You know, everywhere like this. All the world architecture become something fake things. It's have some very rough structure inside, and I have used the material to the outside decoration, inside decoration. Finally, architecture disappeared. So we want to do some real architecture, use the natural and the real way to do the construction. So construction not just means workers work. I think construction in this time, they also have very powerful critic power for our architecture situation. The project site like this, it's typical situation when you do some practice in China. You will find the government they worked very hard. Before you do something, they demolished everything. Then you have an empty place like this. It's an empty place. And they also, you can see the small hills. They have some collapsed state. This very common things in China, especially around the cities, because we have large-scale construction when we need materials, especially when you plant the concrete, you need the stone. So the people, especially the countryside people, they dig the mountains and then they have the material, small stone, and can make the concrete. So many hills like this. It's a little bit similar to a jog. you know, the Chinese people, Chinese culture, our basic philosophy is about nature. We're respectful for the nature. But in the real reality, the people destroy the nature to do the concrete, then the situation like this. So when we meet this project, apart from any thinking about the monumental, the first our thinking is how we can we use some way let the nature be repaired. The site like this. Another background is this project is in a special area. Very near our site is a place about ancient cities. When we do the design, we started design in 2019. In that year, this ancient city, in fact, it's nothing there. It's just something is underground, and it's become a UNESCO heritage project. So this is our second limit. Is you should do some large-scale new buildings very near the UNESCO heritage project. In fact, architects like us, when we think about one project, we think a lot of things. Especially it's about the background of this city. It not just means this small site. This picture is a traditional Chinese landscape painting, mountains and rivers. It's been painted 1,000 years ago. At that time, Hangzhou is the capital of China. And in that time, landscape painting touched the highest standard level. That time it's the Hangzhou's town. So this is the painter. He drawing the Hangzhou like this. You see, this totally means landscape. We have the water, the mountain, some tower. Almost can't see any building because the building is very small, totally mixed within the nature. So you can't see the building. You just can't see the landscape. A little bit similar to Athens. If you have more trees, something like this. Then you have, I think for the human, of course you have some curious, interesting. You want fun. What's the real state of the city? In the far distance, you can't see anything. You just see the landscape. But what's the real state of the city? Like this. It's another painting at the same time, 1,000 years ago. It's drawing the Hangzhou. You will find the building and the trees and the river. It's a four corner, very typical four corners. In fact, all the city be composed by thousands of corners like this. They compose together. It means the city. And you can directly feel what's the real philosophy in the Chinese tradition. What meaning about the city? Like this. This is a Chinese city. And now it's a high-rise building. Now, like this. When you have this basic research about this culture, then you will have some very sensitive feeling about the site, the situation. For example, the people will see, oh, this collapsed hills be dig out like this. But for me, the first time I see this, I will find, oh, they have the peak. They have a peak here. What's meaningful for me? If you have a peak, maybe you can join a new landscape painting here. You can use the architecture way to join a landscape painting here. So collapsed hills for me, it's very helpful for me. For example, this small hill like this. When I see hills in my brain, I have seen these paintings. It's very famous things in China, you know. It's almost every Chinese knows this painting. Now it's a collection in Taipei, in the Taipei's Forbidden Museum. It's very famous painting. A mountain like this, and it have some small hills like this. And I directly find, if you think about the real scale, this small peak like this. But if you have spatial vision and imagination, you will find this small peak, about 30 meters high, very low, in fact. Maybe you can give people the feeling like this, a mountain, far distant mountain, like this. So how we can do that? You can find, they have small buildings here. It's very typical Chinese way. They have small mountains, when they build the building here. I think for you, essence, local people, you are very familiar about this. You build many big, small buildings on the hills. It's very natural way. And it's, in Chinese tradition, we also have this tradition, like this. So this is my scale, a sketch, my first sketch. Sorry. You will find it's a very beginning of the design, but they talk about very basic things. The peak is here, and maybe we can build a small building at this position, because this site very near the UNESCO cultural heritage. So it means we can't build the building too high. The limit is about 15 meters. They showed below the 15 meters. The basic problem for architect is, if you design a building huge, it's about 100,000 square meters, and it should keep the height below 15 meters. How you can do that? So finally I designed, maybe I can design a new garden and use a very typical Chinese traditional way. In Chinese architecture, for us, the height not so important. More important things is layer. The building is not very high, but you can guess the building have many different layers. And when you go through the building, you will get rich experience about one layer, another one layer, like this. Then you can keep the building not so high. It's a basic idea. And this about the height. 15 meters height, I control the main building maybe 12 meters high. And above this, you have a little bit go up, go down things, similar to a mountain stage, like this. This is basic thinking. And you can find this the different layer, the building, and they very near the site peaks and the mountains, and they penetrate from a different layer, gradually go in. That's a basic idea. This is the master plan. And we have the hill is here, and a little bit of hill is here, and another small hill is here, like this. And finally, I do a basic decision is in the master plan, this part we have something more similar to our gardens. They have a water pond, and the basic system, in fact, is composed by 3 water ponds. The south water pond, middle water pond, and the north water pond. Then the different layers building be arrangement like this, very simple way. But I hope the real experience about real building, finally you will find it's not so simple. The building be finished like this, very similar to my very beginning master plan. It's not, it's not very easy for a national cultural building. You use this, for Chinese, it's maybe this too modest way. We spend a lot of time to talk with our client, the government client. That finally they accept this idea. We are very lucky. The best feeling about Chinese architecture, especially in the tradition like this, the feeling like what? You can see this is the main buildings, and this is the hills. When the people directly come from here, when you come to here, you will find the building become the part of the nature. When you get to the entrance, it's the gate. You can find the spatial screen, and penetrate this building, you can see the natural hills just behind. This is the entrance gate. When you go in the entrance gate, you will find the space like that. We use the spatial wood structure roof here, and the top with nature like this. And we built a basic system about trip. When the people come to here, when they visit the building, oh, sorry. You will find the very spatial corridor very near the hills. The basic type of the corridor is very similar to the natural boundary of the hills, like this. And you go into the corridor, you will find they have very rich change. For this angles, you will find they have many different layers. This is the park. This library and the book story, and the gardens totally mixed together. Now we can talk about single buildings. For example, this small pictures is one of the fourth, the small corner about 100, like this. You will find a small building. They have a main building here, and they have a small pavilion here. There's a platform here, and people stand here. The weather is very hot. Basically, you can get the feeling the weather is very hot. So the building almost no wall you can find, and because too hot. So they need the wind penetrate of the buildings. When usually people talk about Chinese architecture, people talk about the feng shui. The basic feng shui is mean the wind and water, right? Because in the very hot place, we need the wind. So how the wind can penetrate the buildings, how then we can use the water to control the temperature, give the people more pleasure, more peaceful feeling. So water, wind, trees, they are all the very important elements about architecture design. So architecture is not just means the solid part architecture. It means you should give some way like the people can very pleasure live in this spatial situation. This is our main building. This main building, you can have the platform. There's a small pavilion here. They have a very clear structure about a different layer, and they talk to each other. They also talk to this peak. And they can, in this position, have a small building. It's very traditional Chinese feeling about the architecture, how to talk with the nature like this. A problem for architects is scale. You know, usually when you design some building near the nature, what's about the scale control? And the difficult thing is that the architecture, in fact, is not so small because it's 100,000 square meters buildings. So it's basically it's big. But how you can let the building the big, but the people real feeling on the side, you don't think it's big. So you usually need some special way. For example, we do these two buildings talk to each other, and they have some special feeling about the scales. Then they have a special way, direct connection to this mountain. Finally, they become part of the mountain. Then you should control the people's vision in different angle to give the feeling about better scale feeling. For example, from the corridor to see the small building on the hill. When you go up the hill, the pavilion on the peaks, and you have the bird view to the buildings, you get another feeling. One feeling is look up, another feeling is look down. They also mean some dialogue to each other. When you study in the small reading pavilion and see the main building, in fact, the main building is huge. It's more than 100 meters long, in fact, very huge. But we designed this, This facade, similar to something you can penetrate. It's not solid facade. It's just many doors, many screens. They can open, they can close. And in the good day, good weather, they can open. In the raining days, they can close. They all be controlled by computer, all the gate. In fact, I get a feeling also come from a Chinese traditional landscape painting. You see this building, it's a very important building because it's the Emperor's Palace in the 1,000 years ago in Hangzhou. They have an emperor dinner ceremony is inside the space, and all the building's facade is open, totally open, similar to a pavilion. When they close, the facade like this. In fact, we use this very special materials here. You can see this green material. It's come from a Chinese traditional ceramic way, because our province, Hangzhou is the capital of the Zhejiang province. This province is the most famous place about the Chinese ceramic tradition. So we have this traditional hand-making craftsmanship tradition, and my wife, Lu Wenyu, he have a special contribution about these materials. We're looking for in the very deep mountains, looking for the craftsmen to talk with them, how they can build. Originally, they just make small things like this, and now we want to make the big materials on the modern buildings. It's not easy, but finally, we really do it. As this, you can see, this is a very interesting arrangement about materials. This curtain also made by Lu Wenyu. You can see the spatial wood structure here. You can see the corridor in the south. The sunshine comes from here. It's also, I think, here you have same tradition. because you have so brilliant sunshine, a little bit hot. So the building has a corridor. Corridor is very important. Yesterday we have a ceremony about Pritzker winners, the big dinner, and they also have the dinner in these corridors. Similar things. You will find another special thing. Our building is very near the mountains, very near, almost directly touch. It's an inside structure. It's our special way, our studio's special way. We spent a long time to do the approach, how we can use the new wood structure in modern buildings. It's a large span, more than 24 meters, large span. Use the wood and the steel mixed together. I think it's a very beautiful structure. In the second floor, you can see the structure like this. A little bit, you can get a feeling from a Chinese tradition, but in fact, it's totally new way. You can see the second layer, the building like this. We have these small hills. We use a special way, like the building, to protect the hills. So now finally, the hills become a part of the building. It's here. And it's similar to something in Chinese traditional garden, but the way is totally new. Sometimes we find on the side they have a special trees here, pen tree. So when we do the construction, we find the building directly meets the pen tree. So we change the design and give a big hole here just for these three trees. We change the design like this. For us, it's directly give the answer. What's the meaning about natural is the first things we should respect. So architecture directly gives a response. Now gradually you go in the more deep of the buildings. In fact, this building is a special library. It's in Chinese tradition, the library does this. It's just for the, more similar to a store for books. And for the very important different edition books from history. So it means usually public people don't have chance to visit the building. The building just means when they be finished, it will be closed. And we store the books inside. But we changed the basic way about the building like this. We design an exhibition system. You will find the corridor like this. They penetrate the building from the beginning, go around, family, come back. This is a very new system like this. We, like the public people, can penetrate all these buildings. This is the inside space about this exhibition system. It's a north pond. We have 3 ponds, south, middle, north. When they go to the more deep buildings, you will find we have a north pond like this. It's another Chinese tradition. Usually the writers, the painters, the poet, and the country people, we have some special party in building like this. It's another tradition. And you will find this the exhibition corridor with the penetrate of the building, and we designed the special system about column. This column means sometimes they show give the root space. Sometimes they show go around about the trees. Sometimes they should go around the mountain corner. So finally, we designed this system. They can most easy to suitable the natural situation. Like this. Another way about dialogue about between the materials. You will find in this corner, they have concrete building is here. they have a ceramic screen is here, and have a rampers building is here. So the best feeling is not, it's not just means one building. It's more similar to a gardens or similar to a small city. They have so many different buildings be put together. It not just means one building. Usually, if you are typical modern architects, for example, you use material, concrete, from beginning to the end. Totally, you will use the material is concrete. But our philosophy is different. We more prefer the feeling about variety. Variety means in this world, there are different things they have rights coexist together. So you can see this is the best feeling, best philosophy. You can see here we have concrete, we have ceramic, we have wood structure. They totally mix together. We also have very special pavilion in the corner, the building's corner like this. It's all the structure is wood. We use the wood with glass, ceramic together to build this small, very special tour. It's a small, special exhibition space. In fact, when the building be finished, the people think, oh, it's so beautiful. Even common workers, they think, oh, it's so beautiful. It's more beautiful than the Apple Store. I think it's good things. The people, through this construction this way, they get some confidence about their country. The problem is when this small pavilion be finished, the client have some different feeling. They think, oh, this glass building, how you can do exhibition here? You know, usually the exhibition space is a black box. This exhibition space is full side is the glass. When the people come to here, you see it's all the landscape around you. So finally, my wife, Lu Wenyu, he said to the client, maybe I can do the curator. We can have a totally different exhibition. So finally, we invite, very good young landscape painter in Hangzhou, and his work is here. All the exhibition design is designed by Lu Wenyu. He used this way, very light, transparent. It's a fold, you know, what is fines? 扇子，折扇 ，folding fines, folding fines, yeah. He drew the landscape painting on the folding fine. We use a spatial way to exhibition. And the people, when they see the paintings, same time, he see the landscape. Like this. This is the pavilion for party, for artist party. It's a Chinese tradition. We have a very beautiful story about the party like this from maybe at least 2,000 years ago, come to here. In the long history, we have many parties about artists. They directly give the poem here and the writing on side, write calligraphy, and have some music, special music here or something. Another thing about exhibition, you know, it's for the typical traditional library like this, we should have entrance is here. South entrance, very important for Chinese architect, for feng shui, it's very important. But we want to have the new system. We want all the building be open to the public people, so we designed another entrance is here. This facade is very important because it directly refers to the UNESCO heritage. this facade. The UNESCO heritage is about the ancient city totally used the earth construction 5,000 years ago. So we designed this spatial facade, use the earth materials, earth construction, this building. Ramparts. Yeah, ramparts. Like this. We designed this spatial rectangular roof system. Under the system, that people can sit here to drink coffee or tea. It's the entrance. You will find, in fact, the building is big. It's not so small. And it's the ramparts wall. Our studio, we start this approach about ramparts system more than 10 years. And we built a lab in our architecture school to do the approach about techniques, skills. In fact, in this construction, we not just means do the design. We also not just means do the construction design. We also give the training to the workers how to do the rampart construction. Our lab can do that. This is the entrance, public entrance. And when building be finished, it's night, it's like this. In fact, this first word we talk about is the city works. You know, in China, city have a very fast, large-scale development. But at the same time, China is very special. The countryside is totally another system. Almost no chance for architects can work in the countryside. Countryside, all the buildings be built by the farmers themselves. It's totally different system. So we have interesting to work in the countryside because I think for a culture, it's a complete culture, it have two parts, city and the countryside. So we don't just want work in the cities, we also want to do something in the countryside. It's another small city in the south of our province called Quzhou. It have a 500,000 population. In China, it means very small. The city also now also like this. They have more and more high-rise buildings be built. This is a very small quarter. But our studio's thinking is, vision maybe is not the only direction for the development. What's meaning about it? We do some new approach to show to the people what's meaning about different way. This Shanghai is here, is Hangzhou. In fact, very near. Take the high-speed train, 15 minutes from Shanghai to Hangzhou. Now we also have the high-speed train directly to Quzhou. Originally, we should take the car more than 5 hours, but now 1 hour. 1 hour, directly from Hangzhou to Quzhou. But from Quzhou, take the car to our village, near 2 hours, because it's the mountain area. The small village name is Shibian. We start this from 2016. It's a Quzhou, and we find the village groups here. We take the car 1.5 hours, from here to here. It's a mountain area. The village like this. All the material is earth, ramparts. All the building is ramparts building. Wood structure, ramparts. It's a mountain village, so the people design a small house like this, a little bit similar to Athens. This is the new building. The government built this new building for people, and because the people live in the inside the mountains, they are a little bit poor. In China, it means poor people. So government gives support to the poor people, let them move from the mountain up, high mountain, go down, And then they build a new building like this, like the people move in. Very typical. Because the government give the money have the limits. So when the building be finished, they don't have the facade materials. They just be finished like the rough concrete and the bricks, then be finished. Then if you want like the building become more beautiful, you should spend your money to do something like this. So in that area, the people call the building like this a naked building, just no clothes. The building just have the body, no clothes. So the local government want our students do something like this building become more beautiful, more convenient to people's life. The building like this, inside like this, it's pearl, like this. Sometimes they move their traditional furniture from the original village, come down. It's a hill, the village on the hill, so you can have a different height platform. The second platform, they directly can see another people's rooms. Some people become rich, so they do the interior decoration like this. It's very typical things. All over China, especially in our province, you have government give some new urban planning for the village. They demolish the traditional village, then they rebuild this. Usually people call this is an American big house. Every family, they want to go in this American big house like this. So they totally forget their tradition. Earth, material, bamboo, wood, totally be forgot. So we do something like the intervention. The small village like this, that's the plan. And we talk to the people, the village peoples. Some people like our design, some people don't like. For example, these three families, they don't like. Our basic strategy is if you don't like, we will don't do anything. In fact, we keep original building no change, but we just design something around the buildings. It's a hill side, so they have different height location. We designed the system because here is a lot of raining. In the summer, it's very hot. So we designed the system about raining, about hot, about the wind can penetrate the building. We designed this simple system, use the bamboo materials to give a more large roof. This is our drawing, models drawing. Original like this. And they have a flood, a very big flood, and like this. But finally, a very difficult process. But finally, we finish in the pandemic time. We finished this project. You'll find this position. Originally, have building here is be taken down by flood. This before, this after. We give the new entrance for the village. Originally like this. We give the new public space like this. And people can sit here talking to each other. They have the roof system for the raining and the hot sunshine. Through the change, you can find what's meaning about architecture power. Architects really can do something. You will find the roof almost connected to each other. It means in the raining day, the people can walk outside. So we use the bamboo, we use the earth materials, we use some filling, connected gas filling from the traditional way, but in fact, the totally is new way. This is our studio's way. We learn a lot of things from the countryside, from the tradition, from the local people. Finally, we want to create something totally new. This is the dining room for the village people. Now they can give the service to the tourists. The dining room not just for the village people, they're also for tourists. Thanks.
Maybe we should ask the audience if they have any questions. Yeah, definitely. I'm sure they have questions because China is a different context compared to Greece.
Please come. Oh, please come to here.
So, I totally understand your work, being in China for many years, and I think there are some very important issues here that you are dealing with, and having witnessed your work before and now developing, I can see that. Okay, sorry. So I've witnessed the development of your work, and I think there are some very strong patterns. So I can see you're trying to revive the Chinese architecture. So this is a quest for the real Chinese architecture. After all this, what happened with this invasion of the international style in China, and all the buildings that were demolished. And I mean, I know what happened. I know that thousands of houses were razed to the ground in view of the progress and the new the international style that went everywhere, the modern city, the functional city. But while this was good in some senses, on the other side, the heart of the Chinese architecture started to fade. And I know that in China, landscape is not part of the architecture, but the other way around. Like, architecture in China is really part of the landscape, is a complement to the landscape rather than new objects in the landscape. And I can see that in your work before and now, and developing. And I think you find your way towards Chinese architecture through material, through tradition, and through an understanding of architecture, a traditional understanding of architecture, which is actually through nature and through the interpretation of nature going through art. So I totally understand that you showed us all these old drawings, because maybe the audience doesn't know, but the Chinese landscape architecture is based on the drawings of masters who went to these wonderful mountains, like the Huangshan near right, near Hangzhou. And actually, when I saw your work in Hangzhou, in Xiangshan campus, with all those corridors, I thought of Huangshan. Maybe I'm wrong, but I got this feeling. I felt that I was in Huangshan. So,
you know Huangshan?
Oh yeah, I've been in Huangshan. Yeah, Huangshan is wonderful.
Not so many foreigners know Huangshan. You know?
Well, actually, I was not just a foreigner there. I lived for many years. So.
There's a deep secret in Chinese culture.
Yes, I totally agree. And I know that the masters, the old masters, went to Huangshan. They painted. They made all these paintings that you presented. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to say that because, yeah, I will do. But I wanted to say those things because those are not obvious to the audience in Greece. It's very different, the context. So I will stop now talking and give the floor to anybody who wants to ask something, especially the students, and first of all, the students. Okay? Anyone wants to ask a question or? Yeah, please.
All right. Thank you. For these constructions that you showed us, the technicians, are they trained already, or you somehow train them in order to do those constructions?
Sorry, I need a translation because my English word is not good.
Δεν ακούστηκε. Συγγνώμη. Πρέπει να πατήσω κάτι. Δεν έχει κάτι να πατήσω. For the construction that you showed us, are you using trained technicians? Do you train them? Are they already trained in order to do those constructions?
就是说你
Sorry.
你是那些建造的工人，你是训练过他们吗？是在建之前就训练他们，还是怎么操作？
In fact, it's very important, very interesting question. In fact, in China, our system almost, I think, similar to here. And everywhere they need the construction company, they need the competition. Then they get the project. So it means if you want training the workers, so every project you should training again because every project is a new group of the workers. Like this. For example, this village project, earth construction is this area's tradition, but the local people totally forgot. So we have to retraining on site. Like this.
Ναι. Ακούγεται πίσω. Thank you very much. We saw some very sensitive approaches to the landscape and to nature, especially with the first example, the archives, and all the ways through and the passages and the way the buildings breathe and the relationship to wind and water and feng shui and everything. We didn't see any of the examples. I mean, most of us know the big museums that you did earlier on. How does your approach, how is it implemented when you're in the city? How are these ideas of building in nature and landscape are relevant when you build in the city?
Good question. In fact, in this national publication achieved, this project, you will find the site is not in the countryside. The site, in fact, is a city site. So we face this problem is the site is not so big, but we should build more than 100,000 square meters building here. How we can do that? We want to design a garden system. So many buildings we should build. So finally, you'll find we use a special model because half landscape, half buildings. Then in the south part, they have a water pond. It's the feeling more near the garden. But in the south part, you'll find the building have a very high density. That's our special way. For example, if you have chance, come to Hangzhou, visit our Xiangshan campus, we will find we also use this way. The campus building, we have very high density and near the top, the upper limits of the national law is a very high density building there. Then we use this way, we can leave the green space, landscape space between the mountain and the building. This is a basic way. It's also similar to our city. Hangzhou is, I think, is a very typical traditional Chinese city model. Is in Hangzhou. Usually we call what is Hangzhou? Hangzhou is half is a mountain and water, half is a city. It means totally. It means city. You know, the city means they have a 50%. It's a mountain and water. When you do the design, the mountain and water is also means you should go in your design system. You should design a building with a mountain water system together, like this.
If I just may add something to this, that was quite clear in your presentation, but maybe we didn't see it in these projects, but what happens when you are within a very dense urban district, when the context next to you is not the mountain and the pond? When you are...
Chinese, we have a very special garden tradition. What's meaning about Chinese garden? Chinese garden, usually you design a garden in a place, no mountain, even no water. Then we will build, we call it, it's not artificial, it's an artificial natural system. We will build mountain here, use the real materials and waters, and mix with building together. So garden in Chinese architecture tradition is not just means garden. Almost every Chinese architecture is a garden. The garden is a basic model about architecture. Not太复杂.
So yeah, we can tell that he got some urban renovation that is totally located in the commercial
within the commercial district.
Yeah.
So you start with the garden.
Yeah. And, yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Everybody come and go there.
A little bit complex. Yes.
Also in our School of Architecture, we have done a lot of experimentation on the urban high-density environment study and research. Then it depends on the site where you have the project. Thank you.
So in Chinese culture, nature is just not means the raw nature. No people there. Nature means that people, they build some system, artificial, but very near the nature. The meaning like this.
Yes. I would like to ask you.
Microphone is not on.
I would like to ask you, what is the role of the structural engineer in your architecture, the role of structure, and how do you collaborate with them, especially when you work with natural materials?
Yeah, it's a little bit complex. Maybe I can speak Chinese like the Zhao Deli do the translation to English. 实际上，按照中国的建筑传统，抛开这些文化的讨论，第一位重要的首先就是材料，第二位重要的其实就是结构体系。
So, other than any cultural context within the practice of architecture in China, whatever we are going to talk about on architecture, and the materiality and the structure goes first in Chinese architecture tradition.
So, 我们其实工作室的整个的一个努力，就是想建立一个新的建造体系，除了文化的讨论之外。
Other than the discussion on the culture part of architecture practice, the amateur architecture studio from Wang Shu and Lu Wenyu is trying to rebuild a new construction system within Chinese context, with craftsmanship and in close relation to modern construction structure system.
所以我们的很多工作，都是想办法要让这个传统的，特别是 手工的、自然的这一部分的材料和建造的方式，要在现代的工程中占一个很大的比例。
So from their practice, they are going and they are always trying, experimenting from small details of Chinese craftsmanship and in relation to modern construction system to build a new material construction system in the modern period and modern practice. So that's something really taken account, the majority part of their practice.
实际上这个事儿非常难，因为中国的现在的建筑法律也已经完全现代化了。这个法律包括它的施工的系统，基本上是没有给传统的材料和工艺留下空间的。
So it's actually very difficult because, for example, the building code and the building law in Chinese architecture practice has no consideration or few consideration for the Chinese traditional craftsmanship on architectural material and engineering. So they are seeking the tiny space of doing that in real context and practice.
所以我们每一个工程里面都有一套现场试验的系统。 因为这个要说服我们的甲方，说服这个建筑管理的部门，你必须要通过试验来展示给他们这个材料，包括它的建造每一步的做法。
So in every new coming project, they will make some mock-ups from their construction system to show the client and show the construction team to make them believe, okay, this is gonna work.
Ακούγομαι. Thank you for your inspiring lecture. I realized that you present today two different projects showing your different way of producing architecture. The one with the big gestures, with the big design, the big synthesis in in a project that combines an elementary, a synthesis of elements, of different elements. It's more like a collage of different buildings and different kind of architectures in a way to present this dialogue between past and future, as you said in the beginning. And then we saw the more sensitive approach that you did in the village with the more arts and crafts, man-made architecture with the bamboo structures and all these elements. So how you feel you are as a an awarded architect. How you feel between these two architectures, these two ways of producing architecture?
实际上，我觉得一个好的建筑师，我经常跟我的学生也说，最基本的哲学就是8个字儿，叫小中见大，大中见小。就是一个好的建筑师一定是要有这个能力的，就是你做大的建筑的时候，人们在里面可以发现很多特别有意思的小的细节。所以做小的时候，你会发现它不只是一个小的建筑，它可能里面包含着一个建造体系，它可以支撑做很大的建筑。
Wang Shu just said he always talk about these philosophies to the students, like you can always discover something that is important and great from even small tiny things and the details. And at the same time, you can always find small details and vibrate small things from big scene and bigger context. So it's like you have to go both back and forth between each other, rather than look at something that is considered to be fixed.
实际上，你像我那个村子，有机会的话，那个村子的那个做法也可以做一个大的博物馆。
So if there is a chance, for example, for the second small village project, you got a chance to use that detail to be transformed to larger scale, for example, as a museum, if there is a chance.
I don't want. Right. Can I think it's easier. If you could interrupt. I have 2 questions. The first is you are doing a unique thing in the academy that you are building all this fresh stuff. You are doing a unique thing. You are teaching, both of you, in the academy. It's very rare in the world to have two professors teaching that and building, which is a constant research. How do the students get involved in the training of, these timber structures are phenomenal. So you are doing what Scarpa did in the 70s. Carlo Scarpa did the same, but Scarpa was very io, myself. You are much more sort of collective. So how does the academy students learn from you, from the technicians? And the second question is opposite, about money. This might cost much more than the normal stupid commercial stuff. How do you convince your clients to pay the money? That's 2 questions.
Students and money.
Students and money, yeah, both.
这个我听懂，
Sorry.
第一个问题我来回答，第2个问题你来回答。Maybe the question can be answered by Lu Wenyu. Please, go, come on.
德利，你翻译，我在这儿啊。Sorry, my English too bad. I speak Chinese and Zhao translate.
Okay.
第一个问题，王树秀的，我讲中文。王树讲的那个衢州实践的乡村项目，其实我们平行那4年。做了另一个事情，就是我们是和麻省理工和东南大学一起带着学生，每一年的暑假是在一个村子里 带着他们一起做设计，然后把学生做的设计帮着他们一起建起来。你先翻译一下。
So it's like it's difficult. For example, for the second project in the village, they, as an educator and also at the same time as architect, they will take students from our school, China Academy of Art, to be part of the village research. So in parallel, they are doing the study and the design in the real context of the village, and they help them to realize them in the village with other school like MIT, School of Architecture, and also Southeast University in Nanjing. So we have this communication and collaboration between these two different schools who work and live in the village. So it's summer vacation. They didn't take a rest. They go to the village and study and do design work. They help them to realize them.
所以学生在使用的材料和我们使用的材料是一样的，都是当地的就是这个 local 的材料。
So the students and the professors they use so they can use the same material, they can discover the similar potential from the local context, and in order to achieve and build them.
所以我们在乡村做的这个项目，相当于是在给学生做一个平行的示范，所以这个是在同时进行的。
So the design studio is not considered as traditional class. You have to work within the classroom, within the school, but you go out of the school on site. They work together.
Yes.
刚才那个教授还提到那个卡洛斯卡帕，其实我也非常喜欢卡洛斯卡帕的工作啊。但是我觉得还是有不同。卡洛斯卡帕非常好的建筑师，但他更像是一个艺术家，或者说像是一个做工艺的珠宝匠，他是做自己的作品的。
对。
完了，我们业余建筑工作室，其实我们的努力实际上是想做一个一般的人最后都能够理解的更自然的建造系统。这是我们在努力的。所以它和作品不完全一样。
So for the sculptor part of the question, he also considered that the sculptor is more like an architect and who design and construct the project beautifully, but within his own system. But in his case, he would like to achieve architecture that can be, after all, understood by everyone of the world and could be part of it, but from their very specific discovery and designs.
最后一个关于甲方的，实际上这样的做法在中国是非常困难，也非常少见，像我们这样的做法。
So you can probably imagine this is going to be so difficult within Chinese architecture practice to confront the client.
所以每一次我们都跟甲方要进行长期的斗争。
So it's like a long-term resistance or long-term communication between architect and client during each project.
我们工作室有一个原则，在中国建筑师大家都很知道。就当我们没有办法实现自己的这样的一个小理想的时候，我们都提前跟甲方说好，我们就退出工作。
So they have a well-known philosophy for practice in China. Probably everybody knows, like if the way of working of their office for designing a new building cannot be accepted, for example, by the client in whatever design phase it is, so they're gonna quit. They'll ask them or say goodbye to them.
Last one.
Have you visited or are you acquainted with the work of Pikionis?
Sorry.
Dimitris Pikionis, the architect who has done the landscaping around the Acropolis, the footpaths. Is he acquainted with the work of Pikionis or has he visited it?
The National Garden? No.
No, it's just the footpaths around the Acropolis.
It's the procession that you go up to the hill.
OK， 他问你有没有去，就是能上到雅典卫城有那个小台阶，旁边全是小饭店的那个地方，你有没有去？他问，就是有好多。
明天去。
He will go tomorrow.
Okay. Okay. Πρέπει να κλείσει.
Okay, thank you very much. We are grateful for you visiting Greece and have this wonderful lecture. Yeah. Thank you. So I think most of the
Yes.
Maybe you can speak here.
No. Two nights before, when the discussion between the laureates ended, our dean said that this was like a lesson for us. And I have to repeat it, that this presentation, I think it was like a lesson for our students and ourselves, and I want to thank you for this.
Yeah, it's my own.
So you 可以给我推荐一下。
你讲什么？
我讲我们的一些实践教学。
You want to say something?
你帮我推荐一下。
Okay. 赵德利 want everybody know he will have a lecture tomorrow. Yeah. He's a very interesting guy, so welcome to listen his lecture.
Thank you, Professor Wang Shu.